Well, good afternoon. Happy Friday, October the 18th. Mark Milam here, your mortgage professional. Let's talk about this past week. Not a lot going on. We saw some strength in the labor market. Jobless claims came in kind of low. We saw building permits come out. Those came in under expectations. Housing starts a little over expectations, but generally this sort of malaise that we've been in now for the past couple of weeks perpetuated throughout this past week. We're finishing out the week maybe slightly worse with interest rates than how we started. And that kind of brings to the question this repetitive theme that keeps coming up, whether I'm sitting at a closing table talking to closing attorneys or real estate agents, or I was at an event like I was at last night, which was the Atlanta Realtors Association Chili Cook-Off, which was a great time, talking to a variety of third parties and real estate agents and brokers about what's happening in the real estate market. And there just seems to be this prevailing thought that the activity so far in Q4 has been somewhat listless, right? Just not a lot of momentum or energy behind it. It's certainly not what we had hoped on the other side of a half-point federal funds rate cut that we got on September the 18th. And so that begs the question, hey, are home buyers and home sellers simply sitting on the sidelines waiting for the election to pass? That would certainly keep with some historical precedent. We do tend to see this every 4 years, that any degree of uncertainty keeps folks on the sidelines. Or is it more than that? Is the unaffordability challenge simply just too great right now for most people to overcome? Let me flip the screen around here. Let's do a deep dive on this. This is from an article on wolfstreet.com, and it simply shows the annual sales of existing homes here for single-family homes, condos, co-ops in the millions. And you can see here's where we are estimated to finish up in 2024, and you've got to go all the way back to the parachute pants in 1995 to see an equivalent level of sales of existing single-family homes, condos, or co-ops. We just haven't seen a market quite this dead in the past 30 years, which is unbelievable to say that, but that's where we seem to find ourselves. And the gist of this article, if we scroll up, seems to focus on the fact that, hey, we're going to have to get into some price destruction where prices are simply too high for buyers. And while we've seen inventory increase, are we really headed for price decreases? I just don't know that we're quite there yet. And unless you're looking perhaps in the condo market, odds are if you're in a desirable area and it's a single family home without too many warts, you probably are not going to see a lot of price destruction. So how is this affordability nut going to get cracked? Let's scroll down the screen and go back. And this one quote caught my eye here from Fannie Mae. Let me get down to it. Fannie Mae economists in their forecast for the remainder of 2024 said, we expect affordability to remain the primary constraint on housing activity for the foreseeable future. And we now think the full year 2024 will produce the fewest existing home sales since 1995. Let's talk about Fannie Mae for a second, because that reminded me of an article that I read this past week that the Fannie Mae CEO said she's never seen a housing market like this before. If you kind of read through the article, there's not a lot of new news here. It's essentially we have the lock-in effect from the pandemic, right? Everyone's sitting on 2.5% to 3.5% interest rates. They're not about to rent their homes. We've got affordability challenges with reduced inventory that has driven up home prices. We've got concerns about the cost of insurance, obviously interest rates making everything more expensive, less affordable. And so all of that is recapped in this article. But there's a stark absence of suggestion or idea or innovation in terms of how we're going to conquer this. And it kind of took me back to something I've reported on before, which was Fannie Mae's Q2 profitability report, which showed that in Q2, Fannie Mae made $4.5 billion in net profit. That's a 90-day window, $4.5 billion. If we scroll down the screen, you can see Fannie Mae's net worth from 2020 to 2021 to 2022 to 2023. Here we are year to date in 2024 at $86.5 billion on what kind of volume? Well, decreasing volume as you would have it. And here we are about to finish up 2024 with levels akin to 1995. So how are we making more money on less volume? Well, it's a good question. And the reason is mainly because it's just gotten more expensive to borrow, and Fannie Mae knows this. The loan level price adjustments that are put out, the G fees that are charged to lenders. Hey, listen, there's not going to be an easy way to solve what's happening in the United States housing market. This is the largest asset class. The United States housing market is the largest asset class in the world. It's larger than the stock market. It's larger than the bond market. If you want to save it, if you want to put it on life support, if you want to do chest compressions and get it back to life, listen, you're going to have to take some dramatic moves. And it's probably not going to be just one move to save housing. And we can start with Fannie Mae and say, listen, these heavy-handed loan level price adjustments, by removing these or simplifying these or reducing these, could have an immediate impact to affordability, an immediate impact to lowering interest rates without any further action needed from the Fed and without driving up the federal deficit. So we're calling on Fannie Mae to be innovative. Take a look at your own loan level price adjustments. Take a look at your own G fees. We want to talk seriously about bringing back a housing market that's at 30-year lows. Well, let's start right there. Let's start right with Fannie Mae, which is certainly what the entire industry looks to for guidance in terms of promoting homeownership affordability. If I can be of any service to you over the weekend, don't hesitate to reach out, mark.milam@highlandmtg.com.